There we go. Can you guys hear me? All right. We're getting ready to go live, guys. So today we are joined with the Joseph Wheeler Name Change Committee. And so I'm honored to have wonderful people here with us this evening. And they're going to give us a brief history as to how we got here today and what we can do to move forward. And so that's where we're currently at right now. And so thank you guys. Thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us and being a part of this. And I'm hoping that as a result of this, we're able to move the ball forward as far as the conversation around why this is important and how we can get the results that we desire out of it. So again, I also want to say thank you for using your voice to advocate for something that you feel is important. Self-advocation and advocating is very important, and I'm glad that you guys have learned that skill. Here in Cobb County, within our Cobb County School District, and so I'm anxious to see how we move forward in this conversation. So let's do some introductions so we'll know who we're dealing with. So we'll start with Nina.
Hi, my name is Nina Kaseva, and I'm a senior at Wheeler High School. I'm involved in the student government, the environmental club, Latin club, and of course the Wheeler Youth Initiative.
All right. I have Jake next.
Hi guys. I'm Jake, and I'm also senior at Wheeler High School, and of course I'm involved in the name change. I'm the vice president of student government as well.
All right. My good friend Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe Shepherd. I'm a junior at Wheeler High School. I'm also involved in the change, and I'm a football team here.
Caroline.
Hey, I'm Caroline Hugh, and I'm a senior at Joseph Wheeler High School. I'm the student government president, and I'm also one of the captains on the soccer team.
Awesome. And Rachel, last but not least.
Hi, I'm also here at Wheeler High School. Outside the committee, I'm involved in government, communications director, and also team.
Awesome. So, well, before we jump right on in, Caroline, I'm going to ask you to give us some background history on this, how we got to where we are today, and just kind of how did this name change movement start? So.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Joseph Wheeler was a Confederate general, and our high school is named Joseph Wheeler High School. And it was around earlier this year, February-ish, when the Black Lives Matter movement kind of kicked into gear, and people were starting to talk about justice and that kind of thing. The petition, there's a whole petition that was going around that kind of spread awareness on the fact that our school is named after a Confederate general. And so some of us were really disturbed by this fact and decided to kind of contact our school board and try to see if we can make progress on this issue. We've kind of had some pushback. So recently we've been making public comments and we've been doing research onto the history of this name and why it was named Joseph Wheeler and that kind of thing. And we've been kind of working on a bunch of initiatives at once to get the board to reevaluate our school's name.
Awesome. So it looks like we have someone said there's a bad echo. So someone's echoing. We're going to get it fixed. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Joseph Wheeler Name Change, who's joined us via Facebook today. We're going to work on that. So let's just start off. Why is the Joseph Wheeler name change important to you, and why have you chosen to fight for this? Caroline, you want to come back with that?
Yeah. So again, I heard about this earlier this year. Sorry. And what really struck me as the worst fact about all of this is the fact that our school was named in 1965, and that happens to be the exact same year that Cobb County integrated, and 11 years after Brown versus Board of Education.
Not a problem. All right. So,
yeah.
Rachel, you want to follow up?
Yeah.
Good. Sounds good.
I think it all the hard what Caroline talked about. It's kind of the intention is really clear with what I think they were trying to do with the name. And that disparity between what the name was intended to represent and what our student body represents now is just really unbelievable. And I haven't seen any other school that kind of has a case that feels so clear cut in a way. Because it was 1965, they were basically forced to integrate, and they had this opportunity to name a new school, and they picked, a Confederate general who had died 60 years earlier. So I think it's very clear what they were kind of trying to do, which was just oppose the idea of equality. And it really shouldn't have been named that then. But the demographics of the school actually have changed drastically over time. They were largely white then, but now obviously we're one of the most diverse schools in Georgia. And I think that the idea of like opposition to equality and kind of like that progress towards more inclusivity and diversity is protected in the way that our name is protected, and how we can't even really start this honest, open discussion about a potential name change. So I think for me, changing the name isn't really where progress ends, but it's a really significant beginning. So that's really why I support it.
Thank you, Rachel. That's really good. One point that you brought up, I think, is very crucial to this conversation. Cobb County is a very diverse district now. Very diverse district. I've been here a long time. In fact, I probably would have been a Wheeler Wildcat at some point. I went to Otis A. Brumby. I went to East Cobb Middle School, and I was on my way to Wheeler. But then my family, we built a house in South Cobb, and I auditioned for performing arts, and I ended up at Pebblebrook. But all of my early elementary and middle school years was in that pathway. And I'm gonna tell you, 35 years ago and now, Cobb County has definitely changed a lot. It is not the same Cobb County that it was 35 years ago. So to your point, now that the community is as diverse as it is, this is a very good topic of conversation to engage in. Zoe, do you have anything you want to add?
So this cause is important to me because I think it communicates regard for the concerns of Black students like myself, but also other minority students. I was a student at Harmony Leland Elementary School when it was still called that. And I remember going to board meetings then and advocating for a new school because we were the oldest school in Cobb County, we were overcrowded, and we had mold in our buildings. And I'm a junior in high school now, 9 years later, and they're just now getting that new school. And I'm not willing to wait that long on what I feel is such a straightforward issue. I think our school deserves better. We have a 74% minority population, like Rachel was saying, and I just don't think that's represented by our name. And I'd also like to add to what Rachel was talking about as far as kind of being forced to integrate and trying to send a message in the naming of our school, that among other things, the board voted to integrate not because they viewed segregation as unjust, but because it was a better prospect than the shutting down of schools, which was what the other alternative was at the time.
Zoe, let me first say thank you because Harmony Leland is one of the schools in our area. And yes, I remember that fight. I remember, not fight, let me not use that word, that advocacy work that eventually yielded a new school. And so this actually is the first academic school year for the Clay Harmony Leland new school. So we appreciate the work that you've done even back then and even now as you're moving forward. So we appreciate it. Jake, come share with us, guy.
Alright, so I actually found out about the naming of Wheeler High School back in my sophomore year, about 2 years ago, just doing some light research, and it was just so appalling to me to learn that, like, the school that I attend and I love so much is named after a Confederate general, and just kind of, when you think about how messed up that is, that we're in 2020, and this is still kind of an issue in Cobb County, and so it kind of is a big deal to me because looking at the demographics of our school, it's kind of just a slap in the face to see Joseph Wheeler High School at the front of our building, and it just kind of creates an environment that's like, how are you supposed to succeed at our school when that's kind of the name that you see. And so I just think it's a really big issue if we want students to succeed, that we have a name that represents our students.
I like the fact that this your statement is that it also affects student achievement. So I appreciate that. We got a question here. I know we're going off script. Um, One of our viewers is asking us, what is the support level like with other students, and do many students want the name changed? Who wants to answer that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can. So we've set up a. Sorry, it's kind of echoing. Okay. So we've set up a survey kind of just to gather data on our own end, and we've received over I think it's 1,150 mostly local students, faculty, local community members who have filled out in support, and they've inputted their reasoning, they've inputted like why they feel it's wrong. So we're definitely collecting data. We're also still in the process of collecting data because again, many people are virtual right now and it's hard to coordinate, but we still, yeah, we do have like Sydney said, she's also in the committee with us. We do have 300 so students who have filled out in support.
That is awesome. We have Sydney, who spoke in public comment last month, who's also joining us live, and she's commenting, and so she's also shared that same sentiment. So I appreciate the fact that we're using data to make our decisions. So let's keep collecting that data. I like that. That's appreciative. Okay, so next question. What is your response to the people who actually oppose the movement? Let's start with you, Nina.
So I think there's kind of two groups of people that oppose the movement. There's the people that think that this will take away from alumni's experiences, and we definitely don't want to not consider like such a big group that's in our Wheeler community. We don't want to just not consider their feelings and opinions. So I've been reaching out to a lot of alums and sitting down, having just a 15-minute conversation with them, and many of them are very supportive, and a lot of their memories are not associated with the name Wheeler. It's with the people they met, the friends, and the teachers and the education they received. So it's not with the name itself, and they think they would have a bigger sense of pride looking back on their high school that made such a change to be inclusive and move to the future. They would look on that with pride rather than, oh, it's taking away from my experience. And the other group of people are the people that think that this is erasing the past. And I'd like to ask those people to take a step back and just look at the situation as a whole. There's a clear distinction between remembering and honoring. We're obviously not forgetting the past. We learn about it in school, it's in our textbooks and museums, but that is the place for it. It's not the place to be emblazoned on the front of our school and have it be a reminder every day to students of color that there's a Confederate hanging over their heads.
Thank you. We have Erin, who is a Wheeler alumni. She's joining us via Facebook, and she says that she supports the name change and she thinks the current name is awful, and that the change is well overdue. So thank you, Erin, for commenting on that as well. We appreciate that. On that. So Zoe, did you want to comment on that?
Yes. So I think the most important question those in opposition can ask is why. I think I'm echoing.
Go ahead.
Okay. So why should our school be named after Joseph Wheeler? Why should it be named after a Confederate soldier who wasn't fighting for the country that we have today? And why, when there are so many other notable people who would be a better representation of our school's diversity and our values? I would encourage people not to be afraid of change, to listen to what we have to say openly and genuinely consider what they're in opposition of, and that this is not about who Wheeler was as a person, it's about us. We're simply asking to study our history because a lot of us truly don't know. We don't know who our schools are named after, when they were named, and why. And forming that committee that was most recently dissolved would give us a path where we can undertake that important work.
That's real good. Rachel, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think another point that we kind of hear is like, why do you care so much? Or like, this isn't that big of a deal in a way. And I think to those people, I'd have to say that there is a lot of symbolic like power behind a name. Like I said, like I think changing the name would like allow us to celebrate something that, you know, our student body, the same ideals that our student body has. And right now it's just not doing that at all. And along with that, kind of the fact that we have to fight so hard for this to even like get on the table and be discussed kind of shows that there's like a larger problem at play, just within the county as a whole. So I think within our movement, we're also hopefully like, you know, pushing for diversity and inclusivity across the county entirely, and just kind of like pushing that dialogue along with us. So I think, you know, this isn't just about our school, but it's about like the entirety of Cobb County and all of those students. So yeah, I think it's a lot of a bigger issue.
That's good. Sydney also commented that a lady told her the other day that when she got married, her maiden name got changed when she got married, and so it doesn't mean that her childhood and her young adult experience was being erased or invalidated. That's a very good point. Thank you, Sydney. I thank you for sharing that. That's real good. Where are we at? Caroline?
Yeah. So if going back to like what I like to say to people in opposition, and it's not even opposition, I really think it's just people who like are wanting to learn more. They just kind of need a little bit more background knowledge. And so I'd like to ask, or I'd like to say that the timing in which our school was named, 1965, really indicates that it wasn't named to honor history. It wasn't named because again, 1965 is long after the Civil War, and again, the same year Cobb integrated. And in that context, the main purpose of the name was not to honor a general. I just like to emphasize that point. And also, when Mr. Morgan proposed the committee in the first place, one of his main points was that there's not a single school in Cobb County named after an African American, which is insane with our demographics. And so if there's not a single Black person as a namesake for school, why would Joseph Wheeler be one of the names? Like why him, basically? So that's what I'd add.
Thank you, Caroline. Jake, what do you got to say?
Yeah, so when someone is opposed to the name change, the question I'd like to ask them is why? Why are you reluctant to change? Why are you against the change? And as Nina and Sydney explained, like the idea of erasing history kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because you can still have history without having it be the name of our high school. And so a lot of times when people are trying to explain why not to change the name, you kind of get like a mix of different responses. And oftentimes, I'm sorry, am I good? Oh, I'm sorry. But a lot of times you get people saying like, oh, well, you know, maybe we just don't have time for that. Or, oh, you know, we don't really know who Wheeler was. He might have been a good person. And you kind of just have to like look deep in yourself and think about it's more than just the person. It's about what the person represents. And I think that's what a lot of people need to realize. It's not like we're doing a 16-hour evaluation of who exactly was Joseph Wheeler. Let's look at his brain anatomy. It's more about what does Joseph Wheeler represent for this high school, and he represents hate in this case, unfortunately.
That's good. Before we talk about your thoughts on that committee dissolving, as Zoe mentioned earlier, we had a question that said, as students, how are you affected emotionally and in terms of mental health to have the school board react to that effort in the way they did in the last meeting? And I know that kind of ties into where we're getting ready to shift to. So who would like to answer that?
I can start. I think it's really disheartening to see as students how we're doing so much, putting ourselves out there and really trying to get a dialogue started, and for them to completely ignore our efforts and our feelings is really unfortunate. It's really awful to see that we're just being overlooked and ignored, and they're doing their best to work against us rather than with us, which is what we want.
Could I add real quick? So we went to the last public comment, hoping to just kind of get the ball rolling on the committee that they had voted to establish. And that, like a couple of hours before, like 2 hours before, we found out that they dissolved it completely. And I think we were shocked, really. And we rewrote our comments. And I think the shock and the confusion and the kind of anger, like it was kind of like, we felt like we were getting close, and then to see it kind of go to backtrack so far was really, yeah, like Nina said, disheartening.
Very frustrating, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it might have shown through in our comments a little bit, but definitely it was not a good day.
All right. Rachel, what did that dissolving that committee mean for you?
So I think one thing that is kind of like a common misunderstanding about the committee is like a lot of media outlets have kind of been labeling it as like a committee designed to rename these facilities, but really it was like meant to be just a group of like 3 board members, and they were just going to work on basically doing what has kind of fallen upon us now, which is just really understanding the history behind these school names, kind of like, just the basics. Cobb County doesn't really have like a great archive, which is a little bit upsetting, but they were kind of going to work on just getting that information and kind of just understanding, like, in 1965, what were those board members really thinking, and is our interpretation of this correct, which I don't really see how you could interpret it a different way. But I think it's, like Nina said, again, just very disheartening to see that we couldn't even really get this like, collecting the data, like you said, just we couldn't get that basic level. We couldn't even get them to follow through on that basic level. And I think that the committee would have been like a really great jumping off point. So we're definitely going to try to keep fighting for that to happen again, because I think that that's kind of the best path to progress and kind of the path to our end goal, which is obviously a name change.
All right, so we have Nate Smith, who has joined us via Facebook, and he's commented, and I think this is a very good question. Do you consider the school board members as guardians of the past instead of being gateways to the future? Who would like to chime in and give a quick answer on that?
I can take that one again if you want. I definitely would agree with that. Obviously, we have thankfully found some support on the board. And, we just met with 2 board members today, and, they're overwhelmingly supportive and, really praising us once again for like our advocacy and things like that. But I do think that some of the board members definitely do seem very hesitant to change, and we don't really understand kind of thought process that's going on in their heads and why they're in opposition to this, which is something that we obviously, we want to open that discussion with them and kind of understand why they think that way, and, what their posts are thinking, and just kind of opening that discussion. But yes, I would say generally to answer their question, I do think they are a little bit opposed to that.
I'd like to add to that too. I think more than looking at the past and the future, I think the board members need to be reminded that they represent us as students. And so listening to our concerns and what we think is important is their job, and they really need to follow through with that and consider what we think is important, our considerations, because it's our education that is being affected by all their decisions.
That's really good. One point that Rachel made, the fact that you're willing to have dialogue and have open conversation and reach out to the board members and have the conversations and come to some common ground. I think that's a good thing. And Nina, again, the role of the school board member is to make sure that we are setting the right tone for education in the county. So I agree. Those are some 2 very, very valid points. Okay, let's shift. Jake, what would you like to say to the 4 board members who voted to dissolve the committee to evaluate school names?
So, kind of to aim at those 4 board members, you kind of get the gist that they think that this is maybe not significant or it'll blow over or something. And The point that I want to make is that this is significant, and whether they like it or not, this is a really big deal to us, and it's a big deal to so many other students, parents, community members, alumni. There are so many people that really, really take offense to this, and people that really want to make a difference with this. And I think I really want them to know how big of a deal this is, and it's something that, because we think it's important, they should, be listening to us. And it's not like we're going up there and saying, you need to change the name to so and so name right now. What we're doing is we want to have the conversation. We want to meet with these board members. We want to discuss why we feel the way we do and explain to them, what steps we can take in the future to, changing the name and how we want to take about that, and having discussions with the community and how we can involve the county as a whole in our decision making.
I'm going to throw this question in quickly. Someone asked, Ms. Katie asked, do you have adults in the building who are supporting you, such as admins or teachers? And someone can just quickly answer that, and we'll get back to your comments to your board members.
We do have a faculty, like a teacher that is supporting us and kind of leading our group and our meetings. And we've had several parents come out and support. Teachers and the principal and admin, I understand they kind of have to stay on neutral ground a little bit. So we haven't had too much vocal support.
We have had them sign
there.
the survey and stuff. They have very nice comments.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. The teachers and faculty, they can't really necessarily support us in this nature because it is a school board nature, but I definitely do get the vibe that it is a big deal to, the people that work at the school every day and work with the students. And I think that there is a lot of support just in the school community as a whole.
That's really good. Rachel, what would you like to say to the 4 board members that voted to dissolve the committee to evaluate the school name change?
I think it really just goes back to what we've kind of just been echoing this whole time, which is basically like, we're not against you. This issue really shouldn't be like divided between race or political party or really anything like that. I think kind of the message of the name is fairly clear, what it stands for. And, like Zoe said, like, why are we uplifting Joseph Wheeler rather than someone else? Like, why does he deserve it? So I just want to emphasize basically how we do want to work with them. And, the motto of the Cobb County School District is one team, one goal, student success. And, to that point, we stand for the same thing. And I believe that, this name change, or at least the beginnings of trying to do that initial research to eventually lead to that, taking those initial steps, tries to strive for the same goal.
I like that. That it does. It actually aligns with the motto for the school district in regards to making sure that we are ensuring that this is the best place to teach, lead, and learn here in Cobb County. So I like your comments on that. Caroline, what would you like to say?
Yeah, just that, again, the point of the committee was just to do research and to begin to investigate names. And you didn't give the committee a chance. You didn't give it a chance at all. And really, just please do that. Also, if they ever do actually hear this, they're probably going to get an email, because we would love to have like one-on-one conversations with them, because we've been trying to email them. Contact has at this point failed almost completely. So we would love to meet with them, like very small groups, just to kind of talk about what's been happening. Yeah.
Okay, so Carolyn, you brought up a point. If some of the board members would like to reach out to engage, because I know a few of them, and I'm sure that there are a few that would be willing to engage and have the conversation. How can they reach out to the collective group to schedule and get something like that on the books? Who has go ahead.
So we are sharing an email, and it's wheeler.namechange@gmail.com. So if they want to get in contact with us, they can do that. And again, we'd love to have a Zoom call, a phone call, anything, just to kind of get this conversation going. But yeah, it's Wheeler zoe.namechange@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Zoe, this is my. So I'm going to take a liberty. Zoe Shepherd is very close to my heart. She is like a prima ballerina, and her mother is a very good friend of mine, and so I just love Zoe. But anyway, Zoe, go ahead and share how what you want to share with the board members.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that what we are asking for is not uncommon and it's not far-fetched. We are simply asking to have an open dialogue, to have space to examine our history and to decide if the namesakes and symbols we've continued to preserve accurately represent the values we wish to carry into the future. Just recently, an Atlanta School Board Committee agreed on renaming Grady High School, a school with very similar characteristics to ours. In the words of Leslie Grant, who is an Atlanta Board of Education member and naming committee chair, the decision to create the naming committee for Grady was a part of its work to establish a more meaningful consideration of equity. It is time that we acknowledge our past and take the necessary steps to do what is right. There's an obvious lack of transparency on our school board. Despite claims that community members across the board had been spoken to regarding the committee, our team was never notified of any plan to dissolve it, despite constant attempts to speak with board members and gather their perspectives. What we intend to do now is hold our elected officials accountable to the decision that they made. We will not be silenced, and we will continue to show up and speak up until change is made. As public servants, our board members have a responsibility to be committed to the promotion of dialogue and engagement with the public, yet they are unable to return emails and fail to provide response to public comments, specifically when requested. Their job is to understand public interest and to fulfill it through their role as an elected official. It seems to me that they are more concerned with winning a perceived power struggle than addressing the concerns of students in their jurisdiction, and it is not only inappropriate but unproductive. I'd like to end by quoting James Baldwin, as I think this quote perfectly captures the essence of our cause. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
Zoe, you dropped the mic before you're supposed to drop the mic. But okay. That was excellent. We had a statement from and a question from someone watching, Katie Terry, and she says she's a parent of a Cobb Elementary student, and she's impressed with all of you because you guys are very impressive. This is awesome. Your patience and encouraging dialogue, you're speaking truth to power. At the school board meeting, I used that in my first show as my drop the mic because I didn't have anything that was as powerful as that. She wants to know, what can we do as parents, community members, to support you in this effort? What can we do to support you? I know we're getting ready to get to that. So let me get some graphics up, guys.
Is it okay if I just add one thing
Yes.
to
Yes, go
Zoe's
ahead.
point?
One
Okay.
thing that I did want to emphasize,
just because we haven't really touched on it yet,
the committee
is
played by
how
the rules,
the
right?
committee played by the
was
rules, right?
policy-driven,
It
and
was policy driven,
you know,
and
they had the full vote.
you know,
The
they had
chair
the
was in
full vote.
support.
The chair was in support. They seem to have had 3 members that they had ready to go to meet. But then, they suddenly dissolved it. After that, they decided to change the rules, and now there's an agenda policy where 4 board members, 4 board members have to agree on an item before it's added. So now one of the things that we are having to deal with is kind of, again, dealing with all of our frustrations around this, is feeling like we're being silenced because, our representative, Sharice Davis, is, she's technically she's not in the majority on the board. So now, if we have an issue at our school and we need to get that addressed, it's going to be a lot harder. So I think that was just something important to add in kind of this whole overall discussion. Of what we've been
Okay, so
dealing with.
you mentioned that Sharice Davis is the board member for Wheeler High School, and Wheeler High School is a magnet school, so therefore you have students that come all over the county to attend the magnet program at Wheeler High School. I know that Zoe lives in Post 3, and she's zoned for Pebblebrook. However, she attends the magnet program at Wheeler. Any of you that are here with us today not live in that district?
I am.
Or zoned? Okay.
I am zoned to Pope, so I live in David Banks, his district, not in the Wheeler one.
Yeah, and that's the same for me.
I'm Zone Sprayberry, and I'm also in the Banks post.
Okay, so we do have multiple constituents here from different areas of Cobb that are represented as well. So okay, that's good to know. Thank you, I appreciate that. So what we're going to do is have call to action time, and we have 3 call to actions that we wanted to discuss. Who's gonna bring these for us?
Yes, I can talk a little bit about these. So we mentioned our survey earlier, which is on our website, and that it really helps our cause, and that's just a way that you can give your input. We really do. We read every response and genuinely consider all of the opinions that we receive. And just to keep this on the minds of all the board members, we have an email campaign going, which you can get more information on our website as well. There's an email campaign tab, and underneath that, there's all the emails of the board members as well as some sample emails if you want to just copy paste those, or you can write your own. And really, it's just so that it can keep this issue relevant and in mind so that they realize that this is important to us and it's not off the table.
That's awesome. As an advocate, someone who advocates for the community and for our schools and for children, it's always good to have action items. When someone's asking you, how can I be involved? What can I do to help support the issue? To have a list of things that they can immediately run to. And so I appreciate you guys coming to the table with action items so that we can, get those that support this effort rallied behind it so that we can, move the ball forward. So it is time to drop the mic. I believe Zoe's going to continue dropping the mic. So what we're going to do is move forward and let Zoe drop the mic before we conclude this evening's presentation.
I think to continue, I just said that I would love if the community would keep this effort going, not let it blow over, even though we're in unprecedented times and we're all virtual and we're all kind of disconnected. I would love if people continue in the email campaign that Nina was talking about. And then just again to kind of speak to the board, I want to emphasize that it's not about you. It's about us. It's about students in Cobb County. It's not an attack. It's not us trying to do anything negative, I guess, on your legacy or on your time as a board member. We just feel that this issue is important. And when I was going to school in person, ride an hour and 15 minutes, getting on the bus at 6:45 in the morning to attend Wheeler. I love my school. I love my community, people here that are in this committee. And I think that we deserve better. And I hope that the board can see that.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I want to personally say thank you to each and every one of you for joining me today. And so again, thank you, Nina, Jake, Zoe, Caroline, and Rachel. I appreciate everything that you have brought to the table today. You guys are completely awesome and are rock stars in my book, and I really appreciate the work that you are doing and will continue to do. So I appreciate that. Before we end, if we can go around and tell everybody how old you are. Start with Nina.
Sure, I'm 17.
17. When do you turn 18, Nina?
In February, so just a few months.
Okay. Caroline?
I'm 18. I got to vote. It was pretty exciting.
Wow. Okay. So you'll be voting January 5th?
Of course.
Yes, awesome. All right. Zoe, how old are you?
I'm 16.
16. You got a little ways to go. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good. It helps. Jake?
I'm also 17, and I'll be 18 right after the election. So.
Right after the election. You're a January baby?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. We'll catch you on the next round. Rachel?
Yeah, I'm 18. I turned 18 after the presidential election on November 15th, but thankfully that means I get to vote on January 5th. So
You
I'm excited
already
to get my
registered?
little sticker.
You already registered and ready to go?
Yes, I registered like when I turned 17 and a half. So on like my half birthday, I was ready. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think we could end on that note. I appreciate each and every one of you. So what we have coming up next, our next show will be on December the 18th at 10 a.m. You guys will be in school, so don't try to chime in and view. But we will have our next show on the 18th, and it's the original coffee talk where we will discuss what transpired in the board meeting on December the 17th, and I'm sure I may see some of you there on December the 17th. And then my special guest and co-host for that event will be Nate Smith, and he is the Mapleton Improvement Coalition's education chair, and we will sit down and discuss education here in the southern portion of the county, and get some of our community input in regards to how we move forward, starting the brand new the brand new year of 2021, and then we'll see who will speak truth to power. It may be me this time. If not, maybe Nate. We'll figure it out. And then we'll also have action items on how the community can continue to engage our elected officials, our school board members, our superintendent, and those leaders that are here to make sure that we are receiving the best education that Cobb County has to offer us. So once again, I want to thank each and every one of you. I appreciate you. Tell Ms. Presser I said thank you because she has been a big help getting everything together and all that kind of stuff. You guys have been amazing. And so I really want to just tell you that and tell you how much I appreciate that. Let's see if we have any other comments left. Yep. Here we go. Miss Larissa James, she says, you all are awesome advocates. We need your voices in the community. Katie again, she's back. She said, you all are on the right side of history, and I wish you didn't have to fight so hard for something that we all know is right. So thank you for your work and keep fighting. And I tell you, anything worth having doesn't come easy. So I appreciate you. I want you guys to don't give up. Don't get discouraged. And just know that, with hard work, things will pay off. So I appreciate you taking this time to come out and be with me this evening. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and end and have some conversations in the back room while we're ending the rest of our show. But I appreciate each and every one of you. And to all of our viewers, I want to thank you for joining us and joining our student advocates tonight, and help supporting us and supporting them in their efforts as we move forward. So thank you, and until we meet again.